I'm really, really pleased to have you all here. Very excited to meet you all. I do wish, as I'm sure everyone else does, that we could be in person so you could see our beautiful campus, beautiful Chapel Hill, and our uniquely ugly English building. We love it anyway, but we are really thrilled to welcome you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I hope that this turns out to be a very informative session. And you can also reach out to any of us individually if need be. So I see Florence is here.
I'm never late. Sorry. I'm really sorry. I was actually revising a graduate student's application for fellowship. And I was lost in the ideas, which are wonderful. So welcome. I'm so glad to see you all. I'm sorry that I'm late. And I'm Florence Dorr. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies. I guess Mary has already introduced herself, Dr. Floyd Wilson, and Matt Taylor, I know, has already spoken to many of you. So I'll be staying on. Matt, do you want to say something so they can see your face?
Hello, everyone.
Great. What I'll do now is to kick it off I'll stick around for the panel, but we want to hear from you. We're very excited to see you all. And so I'm going to call on you as I see you on my screen. And please speak up if I miss you. So I'd like you just to, we're going to try to keep it as brief as possible, unfortunately, just because we all know how Zoom meetings are, or don't we? And we want to be able to give you some information about our research so you have an idea of what we're working on, and give you a chance to ask us some questions as well at the very end. So, okay, I'm just going to get started. If you could just say your name and what you think we realize you might change your field once you arrive, but if you have a sense of what you are thinking about working on, I'd love to start, if you don't mind, with Luke Folk.
Hi, I'm Luke. My research interests broadly are modernist literature, the global turn, and perpetual civil war, basically, like biopolitics. So.
Great. Interesting. Very cool. Thank you, Luke. Good to meet you. Rachel Spencer.
Hi, my interests are broadly in early modern studies, specifically the genre of the history play, and even more specifically, women within the genre of the history play.
Great, great. All right, welcome. Charles Lee.
Hi, my name is Charles Lee. I'm planning on working on digital rhetoric, more specifically video games, and how they sort of participate in neoliberal economics, and how people sort of depict labor through games. So yeah.
I'm so excited about this group already. Audrey Gibson, welcome, Charles.
Hi, I'm Audrey. And all I have is very broad 20th century American lit and African American literature.
That sounds really good. I'm all for all those fields. Yeah, wonderful, Audrey. Okay, Josie Rahim.
I'm Josie, and I tend to focus on early modern comedy, satire, and parody.
Terrific. Thanks. Welcome. Lauren Keeley.
Hi. Broadly speaking, I'm interested in disability studies and medical humanities and their intersections, and also biopolitics.
Fabulous. Oh, 2 biopolitics. Good. You guys should chat. Excellent. Tara Boldrin.
Hey there, I'm Tara, and I'm interested in early modern literature, particularly the revenge drama, metaphysical poetry, and the Carpe Diem genre.
Fabulous. Wonderful. Welcome. Ryan Carroll.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah, my research interests are Victorian literature, mid-late Victorian and modernist literature, and with a special focus on like media, intermediality, media theory, the relationships between different media forms,
cool.
media.
Yeah, It's so nice to put names to or faces to names and research. We've been reading your applications and really enjoying them. So now it's really great. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, Beverly Catlett.
Hi, I'm Beverly. I am interested in, I think, 19th century American C-fiction and madness in C-fiction, and then tying that into eco-criticism.
Oh, so much fun. Madness and eco-criticism. What could be more fun than that? Fabulous. Okay, thank you, Beverly. Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie, and my research is mostly focused on fan studies and specifically fan fiction.
Great. Welcome. Abby Bryan?
Hi, I'm Abby. My research interests are in life writing, specifically telling stories of trauma.
Great. Okay, wonderful. Phoebe Pan?
Hi, I'm Phoebe. I have broad interest in early modern literature, in the history of science, and within that, studies of perception and consciousness.
Totally interesting. Great. Eleanor Stern?
Hi. So my research interests are in the transatlantic movement of folk narratives, especially in the South.
Oh,
and
yes.
Yeah,
that's right. We have to talk.
Okay. I'm excited. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay, good. Ben?
Hi.
See, these are the people in my field, so I know them. I know what Ben's work is about. Go ahead, Ben.
I'm Ben. My interests are broadly in Anglo-American modernism, literary theory, and literature and jazz.
Yeah. Cool. Welcome. Good to see you. Fletcher Bonin?
Hi, all. I'm Fletcher. I do things with 19th century American studies, as well as some post-colonial American studies, particularly American expansion at mid-century.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Oh, let's see. My foolproof plan. You guys are okay. Lizzie Apple.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lizzie. It says Elizabeth on the formal stuff, but please call me Lizzie. And I'm interested in 19th and 20th century American literature and religion and literature and gender and madness. Yeah, that's me.
Great. Two madness people. That's good. You guys should chat. Benjamin Ball.
Hello, I'm Benjamin. I'm interested in disability studies and the literature of the American South in the 20th century. A little bit of science fiction sprinkled in there too.
Cool. Welcome. Another person whose application I read carefully because he's in my field. Welcome. Good to see you. Tim Gress.
Hi, I'm Tim, interested mostly in book history and the 18th and 19th century British novel.
Fabulous. Totally interesting. Joshua Ripple.
Hi, I'm Joshua, and right now I'm mostly interested in history and aesthetics in the Southern Gothic.
Great. All right. Casey Henderson.
Good morning. I'm Casey. I am interested in poetics, mostly like as a generative mode and its connection to cultural theory, specifically as it connects to like Black studies, incarceration, economy, and urban space. And then on the embodiment side with like health humanities, and then the obvious kind of connections between poetics, virus, and breath.
Those might seem obvious to you, but they sound fascinating, right? Very interesting. Amy Chan.
Hi, I'm Amy,
Hi.
and I'm interested in studying 19th century American literature. I have an obsession with women and Emily Dickinson, so yeah, something there.
Good, welcome. Carson Watlington.
Hey, I'm most interested in ethnic literatures and more specifically immigration and aesthetics in Asian American literature.
Fantastic. Welcome, welcome. Peter Buonanno. Did I say your name right?
You got it.
Good.
Hi, folks. I'm interested in early modern studies, particularly men in Shakespeare's history plays.
Fabulous. Interesting. Sadia?
Hi, I'm mostly interested in prison literature and the intersection of law and literature.
Fantastic. Audrey? Garcia?
Hello, everybody. My name is Audrey. I focus on nationalism in American comics and the minority's role within the nation through these popular culture formats. So that's what I like to study.
Great. Welcome. Wynn? Carrie?
Hi.
Hey, Wynn.
Let's see. My name is Wen. I go by they, them pronouns. I have been mostly studying lately male midwives from the long 18th century. That's my main focus, but my favorite theories that I've been working in are disability studies, as well as that wonderful crux between monster theory and queer theory.
Fabulous. Welcome, welcome. That sounds great. Jonah Howell?
Hi, y'all. I'm Jonah. Recently, I've been mostly working on 20th century American lit and critical theory, and doing some stuff also with math, looking at the intersections between Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theorems and intersubjectivity.
Amazing. All right. Well, please let me know if I have missed you, because this is not a perfect system. Can you put up your virtual hand or just speak up if I have somehow tragically missed you? Josie, no, I did talk to you. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Welcome. It's wonderful to see you.
Yeah, so we'll turn now to some of our faculty members who have agreed to join us today and talk about their wonderful work. We have some people that have to leave the panel a bit early, so we'll start with them. I think Jessica Wolf, Professor Jessica Wolf, is one of those people, and then we'll turn to Professor Rick Warner after that. Jessica, go ahead.
Sure, thanks, Matt. And apologies in advance for having to pop out at noon for another meeting. I would love to be in touch or continue to be in touch with those of you who share interests with me, particularly in early modern, but also in the history of math. One of you mentioned the history of math, a subject I'm working on now, and also the intersections between law and literature. So I'll just say a few things about the two big projects that I'm currently working on. One is an edition of a 17th century work by the physician and lay theologian Thomas Brown, which is called the Pseudodoxia Epidemica, an epidemic of false knowledge or false information. And it's kind of a counter bestiary combined with an encyclopedia of myths and falsehoods about everything from geography to art to various branches of science, so magnetism, botany, animal locomotion, physiology, and it's great fun. I got to spend an entire week or two working on unicorns and another week working on griffins for the project. And it's now getting to the final stages, so I'll be working on the introduction and revising the commentary for the next year or so. My other project is a biography, which I've never undertaken before. And it's a biography of a near contemporary of Shakespeare named George Chapman, who was a playwright, very prolific playwright, but also a poet and a translator. And one of my interests in him is that I've long been interested in the reception of classical literature and philosophy in the Renaissance. And he was the first English translator of both Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, and also a poem by the Greek poet Hesiod. One of the interesting challenges of writing a biography of Chapman is that there are hardly any documents related to his life. We can put him in a particular place at a particular time only about 4 or 5 times, and most of those are trials or imprisonments, either for debt or for other reasons. So it's both a methodological and a kind of rhetorical challenge to tell his story. And I've just very recently been working on one aspect of the larger project, which is his connections with the jurist Edward Coke, which are numerous and take place over the course of his entire life. And so I'm using these biographical connections to read Chapman's own interest in a legal principle called meteor sensus, which means the milder sense. It's basically the principle that that if someone says something that is potentially slanderous or writes something that's potentially slanderous, the statement should be taken in the least offensive sense possible. So it was used frequently as a defense against slander or libel in the Renaissance. But what I'm trying to argue, and I think what will probably be an article first before it is in the book, is that Chapman is really interested in this as a kind of literary hermeneutic and uses it to construct two different kinds of readers in his work. And so one of the marvelous things about the two projects that I have, first the edition and commentary and then the biography, is I like projects where the primary materials just kind of pull you in a direction that you might not have expected, where, you know, I feel like I'm following the leads of the writers I'm working on. And so one lovely surprise in the Chapman biography has been discovering how profound music was to him, largely because he wrote plays for private theaters that really foregrounded music. So I've uncovered all these wonderful connections between Chapman and a variety of different musicians, especially lutenists in Elizabethan and Jacobean England. And so, you know, all of a sudden I'm discovering that I have to learn a whole lot about music that I didn't anticipate. And those are the kinds of lovely surprises that I love about scholarship. Because of my own broad interests, my doctoral students at UNC, both past and present, also have a lot of wide interests, and I'm you know, enthusiastic about lots of different kinds of projects. So again, I look forward to hopefully having an opportunity to talk one-on-one with anyone in this group who's got interests in common.
Thank you, Jessica. That's great. Rick, would you like to go?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So it was really great hearing about everybody's interests. And I'm sorry that I have to leave early, but if anybody is interested in anything I have to say, and maybe if you want to talk to me further about film studies at the graduate level at UNC, just email me and I'll be happy to arrange for a time to talk to you. So I'm Rick Warner, and I'm a film theorist, a film critic, and I guess a historian of film style. I'm always thinking about how aesthetic questions intersect with philosophical questions. I sometimes explore film's relationships with other arts and media. I edited a collection of essays on film adaptation, for instance. I'm basically a phenomenologist, and I'm mostly drawn toward aspects of cinematic expression that are really elusive and hard to pin down, but at the same time palpable from the standpoint of the spectator's experience. My first book is a history and analysis of the essay film, which is an intellectual genre of filmmaking that emerged after World War II, mostly in France and Germany. It's an intellectual genre that it's you know, basically staging a reckoning with recent traumatic history. And I focus primarily on the work of the French-Swiss director Jean-Luc Godard, but the book is also comparative across cultural contexts. And so the book that I'm working on now, it's basically a fundamental rethinking of the phenomenon of suspense, but specifically as it emerges through an aesthetics of slowness in contemporary global art cinema. So I'm teasing out a certain alternative, well, I'm teasing out alternative forms of suspense that are not really part of the Hitchcockian paradigm that film and media scholars think of immediately when they hear the word suspense. So it's a book that redefines the unknowingness of suspense in primarily atmospheric and experiential terms instead of narrative terms. And the book is most crucially concerned with spectator attention in so-called slow cinema or contemplative cinema. But even as these are art films I'm writing about, they almost all, at least partly, have an investment in horror as a genre. So I think what might be most useful for you all, I wanted to mention that we're trying to expand things a little bit with film studies at the graduate level. We are trying to develop a graduate certificate that might be of interest to you. And we also, once you have taken a film course with us, that basically qualifies you to be a TA for some of our large undergraduate classes, and that might be something that you all are interested in. There's more I could say. I don't want to eat up too much time. I know you all are pressed for time today. What I will do is put a link to our website in the chat. There's a graduate tab there, and you can check out that information. I'm sorry I have to leave early. If anybody wants to talk to me, please just email me. I'd be happy to arrange a meeting.
Terrific, Rick. Thank you. Was there anyone else who needed a faculty member who needed to leave early? I think those were the two that I remember. Okay, then maybe we can turn to Professor Joe Viscomi, who I believe has something that he would like to show you.
Yes, I'm just, all right. Can you see?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to show some pictures of work I'm doing. This is where I've spent pretty much the last 28 years, which have gone by very fast. We didn't expect that. This is the Blake Archive. It's a digital humanities site. It's a pioneer in digital humanities. When we began it in 1993 at the Institute for Advanced Technology in the Humanities at UVA, this kind of thing, editing with computers, was called humanities computing. And it was part of really media studies. The term digital humanities, which I'm sure you're familiar with, was coined by John Unsworth in 2006. John was the director of the Institute at UVA. He's a dear friend. And along with Jerry McGann, is something of a godfather to the Blake Archive. So we started in '93, my co-editors and I, after editing 2 volumes for the William Blake Trust, which is the way Blake was edited and taught. And maybe if there's time, I'll show you what those books look like. But in '93, we were looking for new ways of teaching Blake, and what we came up with in its in its earliest forms, and we're assured that we would never run out of space, because at the Institute we had 6 gigabytes of storage, which at the time seemed enormous. Remember, 1993. And we started with the illuminated books. And looked for an exemplary copy of the genre. And if we had that, we had an archive. We had a place to study Blake in a way that hadn't been done before. The purpose of the archive was to make accessible very rare material, and while doing so, preserve that material. It's very difficult for really now any of us to see Blake's original materials, and this will go in other fields as well, because they are often million-dollar objects. So anyway, we went illuminated books first, Blake's commercial works, the separate prints, paintings. We have now published about over 150 digital editions of Blake's illuminated books, paintings, prints, and in doing so have facilitated Blake studies. Certainly, this is the first place you go if you're interested in Blake studies. But I'm making a point here more than Blake studies, because you're living in a digital world, and you're going to do research with digital collections. And in fact, digital collections like the Blake Archive, the Rossetti Archive, the Emily Dickinson's Archive, Whitman Archive, those are all modeled after the Blake Archive, and with the same purpose in mind, to allow archival work of a kind that really had gone out of fashion because it's an expensive kind of process to engage in, to travel to London, to various special collections and putting yourself up. What we need are materials that can be trusted, that are accurate. And very few of us actually need to touch the object itself. I'm one of those few, but most just need really accurate reproductions, high-res reproductions. That's what we offer in the Blake Archive at 300 DPI. This is where we are now. We're doing content as well. Whoops. The Blake Archive has digital exhibitions, so it is a place to see Blake's material in very accurate reproductions, and a place now also to learn about Blake, his works, interpretations, etc. This is a project done by our editorial assistants with, and its print equivalent. It's a very sophisticated project. It's a digital exhibition. And our newest wing, which will be announced next week, talk about recent work, is called Works in Preview. And this is a work by Blake. And seen in this environment, you can examine it in ways that have never been possible, even with the originals and with the best of reproductions. And you can actually discover work and details that have not been seen before. This is a slider that's going to allow you to see below the darkened varnish and actually see materials, images, details. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. This is a work by Blake. It's fascinating. Not much has been written about it. Hervey's Meditations. This one's the spiritual conditions of man, but here's what I want to show you. You can see how very complicated Blake's iconography is and design. And then through very high res, especially shot images, you can study the work in ways that had not been possible before. And with this one, we're going to be making discoveries in the work, because all of this, a lot of this stuff falls below the threshold of vision. So with this kind of digital technology, you can begin to see in the vignettes whole compositions that are invisible to the eye. That's, to me, exciting. And again, a point here is that this is the kind of thing that is happening in all fields because of digital technology, because of digital collections. So our new wing, which opens, have these new tools that allow you to see these very complex images in very large, very large size. This is what I mean about what's in 19th century studies, what's in Victorian studies, Renaissance studies. There are sites now that can not only help you with data. These aren't websites, these are databases where you are going to make discoveries and you're going to find things, you're going to be able to use things. And you're also going to be able to publish in kind. The most recent work that's coming out in just a few weeks is this, which would have been impossible without the Blake Archive. The Blake Archive lies behind this because of its remarkable reproductions. And my approach to Blake's work is through the studio. I have a background in printmaking and painting and a lot of experience in New York in museums with prints and drawings. And so I approach it technically from the back door, as it were. And this is an extension of earlier work. This is from 1993, where I'm asking questions of the artifact and approaching it from as a material object. And how was it made? How does knowing how it was made affect our dating and thus our editing and thus our interpretation of the work? So what I've done now with the monoprints, a set of printed paintings, I'm calling them, I did already with Blake's illuminated books. And this is the work that lies behind the William Blake Archive, in that it historicized Blake's canon and allowed us to edit for the first time Blake's work historically. That's more than enough, but you get the general idea. I'm interested in Blake, but it's romantic literature and art, but in a cultural, technical context. And the use of digital technology has played a very large part in how I teach and how I make things. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Joe. That's wonderful. And I just want to underscore something that Professor Viscomi mentioned, which is that he is often working with graduate students who come into the program, specifically Romanicists. So if you have interest, please feel free to reach out to Professor Viscomi.
I'm glad you made that point. I want to make it very clear that we moved to UNC in 2006. We were at UVA because UVA just had a more advanced program in encoding and interest in electronic text. And I didn't have that here. So for the first dozen years, it was mostly just the 3 editors and 2 assistants. But what we have here now upstairs in Greenlaw with 3 offices and some really terrific, wonderful assistants who aren't Blakeans. I mean, 1 or 2 are, but others are Renaissance scholars, but they are interested in digital humanities and collaborative research and learning how to encode. And I want to emphasize that digital humanities, whether it's a large project like this or something smaller, is a collaborative kind of thing, different than how we usually work or humanists usually work. And it gives you an idea. Over the 28 years, there's been a lot of people who've helped us, and we could not do this without our staff, our designers, our engineers. So it's grown. When I said we started with illuminated books, and then we went to Blake's other categories, and it's much bigger than I envisioned it in '93, but it's only because of the help of really first-rate graduate students. And I have a terrific staff here at UNC. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe, can you stop the share screen?
Turn it off.
Yeah.
Stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And let's hear next from Professor Maria de Guzman.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I mean, really, that was amazing. I like your formulation of approaching things through the back door. Okay, so I'm a scholar, also a creative writer, a music composer, and for those of you who know me, I definitely produce a lot of text image, and so I'm fascinated by the text aspects of what you just showed. But anyway, my areas of study: US literature from the 18th century to the present. My first book was called Spain's Long Shadow, The Black Legend, Off-Whiteness and Anglo-American Empire. It was basically the story of one empire representing another. And there were all kinds of interesting and surprising discoveries to make. That was Minnesota Press, 2005. Second book, Buenas Noches, American Culture, Latino Aesthetics of Night. So very interested in aesthetics. The book looked at what Latinx literature, writers, filmmakers, artists are doing with night. And then the third book, Understanding John Raichi, on the Chicana, or I should say the queer Chicano, well, he's actually Scottish Mexican, kind of a mixture, but queer Chicano writer John Raichi, who's best known for his book City of Night, which was published in 1963. But I basically looked at all of his work in that book. And that book also includes chapters on intermedia. So that takes us into the text image realm, as well as on music. Raichi's father was the director of the Mexican Imperial Orchestra before they migrated to the United States, whereupon he lost all of his status and ended up a janitor in a hospital, which is a story that, well, it's something that happened to a lot of Mexicans fleeing the Mexican Revolution. So it's sort of a riches to rags story. But John Raichi clearly very interested in music because of, well, what happened with his father and his father's failed career, you could say, or untranslatable career to the United States. Let's see. I'm also the founding director of the UNC Latino Studies program, which is the first such program in the Southeast. It developed out of a speaker series that I established here in UNC in 1999, and then the program became official in 2004, and we've been going ever since then. It's a very vital program, and I'll just put a link to it in the chat. Hopefully I saved this to just drop into the chat. Let's hope it works. I totally encourage you to check it out. There are a lot of opportunities for graduate students in relation to that program. Particularly, we've got teaching awards, graduate research assistants. We do an awful lot of mentoring of graduate students, and I think it's been successful. We've managed to place all of our graduate students, almost all of the graduate students who wanted to be placed in a tenure track job in tenure track jobs. So let's see what else. But also, aside from the things that I just mentioned, yes, very interested in text image, have taught courses that deal with text image, for instance, queer Latino literary and visual production. Also, another area of specialization is the environmental humanities, environmental justice, eco-criticism. In terms of the sciences, I have written on botany, Latinx botanical epistemologies, and also mathematics in relation to the education of minority populations, although Latinx are now 18.3% of the US population and will soon be 20% and presumably by the year 2050, more than 30%. So minority is not a term that really fits very well given those numbers, but so be it. So all that to say that I know that some of you have expressed interest in the visual comics is something I heard. I also heard mathematics. So yes, algebra, differential equations, calculus, chaos theory, fractals, really, really important for understanding literary texts. Fascinates me. And I have written some articles on this subject, particularly with regard to a poet named Rain Arroyo, Puerto Rican poet, who died in 2010. He was also a professor at the University of Toledo, Ohio. Okay, let's see what else. I don't want to take up too much time because I know we're sort of, see if there's something else I'd like to mention. Yes, our program has been very busy with graduate symposia. So we're going to have our third graduate symposia this spring. And that allows graduate students who are taking courses in Latino studies, or even those who are not, but it's an area that they want to develop for whatever reason, whether they're going to be specialists or whether they would like to develop some kind of practice and some expertise in the area for their own teaching, to give papers. And we have had a number of those papers then published. One of our graduate students just got a paper published in the oldest journal in environmental studies, which is actually a Canadian journal called The Trumpeter. So again, we do try to help with all of those things that we're also concerned with, and I know you're all concerned with, which is, how do I move through the program? How do I professionalize? How do I start to publish? How do I develop my own courses? So that's something that we're very invested in with regard to the department, and also beyond the department, since our program is a transdisciplinary program. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I'll just put my email here in case you want to talk to me directly. So yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Wonderful. Let's turn now to Professor Kimberly Stern.